always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It's a common expression, though not one most people would use to refer to a super maxi. Unfortunately for Christian Beck's LawConnect, that old idiom was the perfect description for a boat that came in second for line honours 3 Hobart races in a row. But in 2023, everything changed. Beck and his crew got the fairytale finish they'd been striving for after a tense battle on the River Derwent.
LawConnect is over the line.
Welcome to Sydney Harbour for one of the great days on the Australian sporting calendar, the 78th edition of the Rolex Sydney Hobart.
Away they go in the 78th Rolex Sydney Hobart, the great race south.
Taking the windward end of the start line, LawConnect led the race start ahead of Andrew Comanche and Scallywag for the race to be first out of Sydney Head.
What's going on LawConnect? Both Hetzels are flapping there.
Andrew Comanche soon took the lead over LawConnect down Australia's east coast.
Andrew Comanche's really put the pedal down. Terrific speed these boats are going, 20 plus knots.
The excitement is building here on the Derwent River, and where at the moment is LawConnect?
LawConnect has caught up, and there's good breeze where LawConnect is between her and Andrew Comanche. This is unbelievable. Look at LawConnect. There's a puff of breeze coming to her. This is not over by a long shot. The duel on the River Derwent will go down as one of the most famous in Sydney Hobart race history. It was hard to know who was in front at times as the two yachts approached the finishing line.
It started out being like the last few years where it looks like we're going to come second. We were well behind. And then Comanche got into a position where there's no wind and we still had the wind, and we caught right up to them, and we did some things really well. Like we went really close to shore, it might have been a bit shallow, etc., and we got the wind as far forward as we could. And I think our crew did an amazing job, right? Because I think that, broadly speaking, that was a tacking duel that was, or jibing duel, I should say, that was very, very crucial. And if you look at the video, our team, we were doing these jibes faster than Comanche. There was a lot of determination to win, and I think they did an exceptional job.
Yeah, it was pretty unreal. They were a long way ahead, and they kind of got out of the transition the night before, like a little better than us. But once we started getting closer and closer, and then to get them right at the end there, it was a pretty amazing feeling.
Our best work was actually earlier in the race, being in position close enough to be able to do that. But once we finally saw that happening, we just sort of went into dinghy mode, and we have our people just in their roles, what we call our inshore mode.
The fact that we're in touch with Comanche coming into Storm Bay, to me that was the key. Like, we had the opportunity once we're in Storm Bay, but we're kind of trading tacks with them in the dark out the front of Storm Bay. And so we're right on their heel. So we had done so well through that night and day before with thunderstorms, and we're set up on the correct side of them all the way from Sydney down to Tasmania. And we're taking gains, and so we're right there with them. That was what set us up to have a crack at them, at the finish. It was pretty devastating going across Storm Bay, because I think they got to like a 4 or 5 mile jump on us going across there, from literally a few hours before that where we were crossing tacks.
And they led you into the river by a fair bit.
Yes, normally that kind of is an indicator you're going to end up second. But the fact that, the breeze was going lighter, we're a better boat, slightly better boat than them in that light air. But it was kind of like the way we were sailing the boat, we were hammering it pretty hard. Even though it's light air, it's still super hard on the gear and the boat when you're throwing them around like a little dinghy.
We just had to chip away. We could see that we're going to get side by side at some point, and from there the race was going to restart again because you're in the same conditions. And it was, a bit of toing and froing. They were really good at what they do, and the boat, there's one little puff here or there, and you're off.
But your technique seemed a little different. The way you were jibing the boat, it did a lot, in layman's terms, a lot quicker than what they were doing, which seemed to, get you there in the end, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you feel that was?
Yeah. The manoeuvres we were quicker through the manoeuvres, and I ran the keel button pretty hard. We had the keel, we had the engine on high revs, which helps the oil moving around, and it was pretty hard on the gear. I don't know, Tide never told me to stop, so the oil didn't boil, I guess.
Ty and Tippy, our engineers on board, they put their head up board going, oh, we've got some alarm going off, yeah, whatever. We got some other alarm, it's like, I don't care, just keep it going.
I did use the keel pretty aggressively to roll the boat, and just like you do in a dinghy, like an Olympic dinghy class or any dinghy class, there'd be kids and sabos who would look at that and go, no, that's no different to what I do on the weekend.
You're pretty tired by the end of the race, so the emotions definitely are a bit more heightened, I think.
At the end, I had to have a sit down afterwards. I actually just sat down on the steering pedestal for a moment and went, whoa.
Did that really happen?
Yeah. It was, but great result, and it was great for the team because they did really nice work, as I said earlier in the race, just to be able to be in that position where we're close enough. At about 6 a.m. that morning, we were actually side by side, from here to the front door away, side by side. We could hear them talking. That's how close they were.
This is Andrew Comanche, the 100-footer who took line honours last year, has just gone through, past the iron pot.
Comanche was a more modern yacht built to break race records. The LawConnect crew had to find a way to win by trying to outthink and outmaneuver the opposition.
We weren't supposed to be able to beat Comanche.
Well, they're always faster, so we have to back ourselves with being better in a lot of areas, which is like crew work and tactically is weird, and just to give us the chance, So, because the race is, I kind of see the race in two parts. There's the race down to Tasmania, but Storm Bay onwards is another whole race, and even some parts north of Storm Bay, it can be two parts to the race. So if you can be in touch towards the end, you've got a chance.
They've done a few lead-up races, probably more than LawConnect has done. Is that just a function of your crew come from all over the world and it's hard to get them together too early?
I think and we do talk about this as a team, and I think with Comanche or some of the other boats, they end up sailing around by themselves, and I don't think that allows them to progress too well. They actually probably go backwards a little bit because there's no competition for them, and they get into not so much probably a comfortable position, where we have a different format where we all get together in December and train solidly for 2 or 3 weeks, and we find that our performance gets better over that period because it's a short block and intensive, as opposed to a larger block where they potentially could be going backwards in their performance.
While many yachts changed crews from race to race, keeping the crew together was the biggest strength for LawConnect and the key to their 2023 victory.
I think it's one and only strength against Comanche, because what I think happens with that sort of boat is there's a lot that you have to do and there's a lot that can go wrong. It's a whole football team executing well, and it normally does take years to create a great team, and it takes a lot of sort of, you could call it great leadership, but also the right environment for that great leadership to operate, and that's sort of what we have, and I'm very proud that that's what's happened. And I would say that all I've really done to do that is support Tony Mutter, and Tony Mutter has put the team together and run it, but I think the support I've given him is helpful.
He puts an awful lot of trust in us, and we kind of super grateful that we can go and race his boat as if it's ours. And that's one of the things that we do. We kind of treat it as if it's our own boat, and every dollar spent is as if out of our own pocket. Yeah, and it seems to work okay. So he puts a lot of trust in us.
But you've seen a lot of owners, raced with a lot of owners that are egomaniacs, I think you can call them. But
yeah.
Christian is totally the opposite, isn't he? I mean, very understated and doesn't push himself, but he must be terrific to work with, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess I've learned quite a bit off him and how he thinks and how he assesses risk is quite interesting. We've talked about that more in terms of tactics and that sort of thing. I guess I'm quite conservative really compared to him, and but I've still, and also how he puts trust in people and lets them do what they do, and I kind of do that with the crew.
Well, it obviously leads to a successful program, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's been, like we have a fraction of the budget of the other boats and we're getting the results.
It's like anything at a high level, like when you can operate like that with the same guys regularly, it makes it, you can just keep going harder and harder, and there's a lot of trust there with everyone, so it just, makes life pretty easy.
People who come and sail on board this boat want to come back and sail on board.
That's a good sign, isn't it?
This boat again, absolutely. Like everyone expects a lot of each other, and everyone delivers. But it's kind of like, it's just a good bunch of people. The management side of it's pretty level, and there's a lot of involvement of everybody on board.
A lot of people in my position do things that can distract the pro crew, like they'll get their friends on board to help be the crew, or they'll do some of the sailing, or they'll pretend they know what they're doing and be involved in strategy and things like that. What I find works best is I do absolutely nothing, because realistically Tony is an absolute legend of ocean racing, done 6 or 7 round the world races, won 2 of them, and I kind of work in an office. So for me it's not realistic for me to make a meaningful contribution during the sailing. I may make a few coffees for people, I may bail a bit of wood out of the boat, but really from a real practical sailing point of view, it's nothing. And the reason for that is that I've learnt over the years, sadly actually, that it performs better when I do nothing than when I get involved.
But as the leader of the group, I mean, you could, I guess, put your business acumen together into the boat to sort of see how you should be managing it, how the people work, who's good, who's bad, and then you could sort of dovetail them in together.
Well, look, what I find, one thing I would say in management, my opinion is that it's just important what you don't do is what you do. A lot of people talk about things you should do, but I think what you don't do is often a bit underrated. And really, when you've got someone really good that's leading a team, the best thing for you to do is mostly nothing. And it's often quite difficult to have the self-discipline to do that, because when something's going well, you often want to be involved and claim the credit kind of thing, and having the discipline to stay out of it and not claim the credit is important.
I guess I've been there from the start with Christian and been that bridesmaid for a few years in a row, and I think it was really good for the team, and especially for Christian to finally see him get that win. He's put a lot into the sport, he's put a lot into professional sailors, and giving Tony and Nico and everyone an opportunity, and for him to finally get rewarded with that win was fantastic.
The most famous comment following the 2023 victory was Christian Beck describing his yacht as a shitbox.
I jokingly call it a shitbox, but compared to Comanche, it honestly is a shitbox. Like I know it looks good on TV, but you go up and close to that boat, it's as rough as anything. And Comanche is a beautiful boat that's better in every way. It's 4 tons lighter, etc. So the fact that they can make that boat beat Comanche is amazing. Secondly, they had a pretty lean budget, and thirdly, they had 5 corporates, including me, on the boat to deal with. Right? None of us know all that much about sailing, so to have all of that and still win the race, it's actually an incredible feat.
And that sort of resonated with a lot of people, because you were very much the underdog in that race, and Australians especially like an underdog to succeed. Just talk us why you made that comment and how it all fitted into the program.
Well, look, I think a lot of the time when you're trying to explain something like that, like if I got up there and said, oh, look, it's 4 tons heavier and it's got less riding moment and all that, that isn't as clear or succinct as calling it a shitbox compared to Comanche. So really, I just wanted to point out that our boat is not very good compared to Comanche, and it was such a huge, incredible effort that the team was able to get it to beat Comanche. And I just really wanted to use the words I thought would best highlight that difference.
With Christian, we're going across Storm Bay, we're 5 miles behind. He goes, He goes, now, Nico, I don't care if we put up the biggest sails. Whatever you got to do. It's like, yeah, we're doing, best we can. And he wanted something more, but we didn't have it at that stage. And then we kind of, and luckily, we almost showed, a bit of patience to then get to the end where it gets light.
It was pretty cool. I mean, also to do it with, all your mates is something pretty special. And, it doesn't happen every day, and especially like it did being so close to the finish.
I actually made a decision probably a year or two ago that I think the best thing for us with that boat is to just keep sailing it till it becomes obsolete, because realistically, the team's great, it's performing well, and it's hard to know how long it will take before it's obsolete with new technology and foiling coming in. But I think that if we just keep sailing it till it does, that to me is the best strategy for that boat.
There's a real slimmer of pressure, and LawConnect is in it. That's the only place that there's ripples on the water right now. So they are in that. They've halved the distance again, and with Andu there behind me, their sails have got completely sloppy.
Andu Comanche still leads. It's narrow, as you can see. Without stating the obvious, it's very close. See the aggressive jibe that Tony Mudd is putting in on LawConnect. They really swing that boat through. It's absolutely unbelievable how close this is. There's the finishing buoy. Oh, look at this. So, LawConnect's got the bow down here. Wow, she's taken the breeze of Andu. That's what's happened. I think LawConnect might do this. Oh, look at this. This is amazing. Unbelievable. Here's LawConnect on her way. There's the finishing buoy.
Extraordinary scenes here on the Derwent.
They've done it.
LawConnect over the finishing line, just seconds ahead of Andu Comanche.
It was the second closest race in Sydney Hobart history, winning line honours by just 51 seconds. LawConnect had finally shrugged off their bridesmaid tag and won their first Hobart. The shitbox had done it. You wouldn't know it from their humble manner, but the crew was now more determined than ever to do it again.